What's up everyone, we're going to be going through the best WNBA player props on PrizePicks today. Now if you watched the other day's YouTube video, because guys there was no WNBA yesterday, we actually got 3 out of the 3 PrizePicks picks correct, which is honestly fantastic, so we're looking to keep that streak alive. However, I also did want to show you the results from the other day's picks from my exclusive Discord group as well, and we actually got 21 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now, a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 1 pick wrong and got 21 right, which is a 95% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 95% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get a 95% win rate and get 21 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon. Should be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure to join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $1,020 just yesterday. Another member who won $500 for the 5th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout out to LA Logie who said let's get the chili, and then shouts out to also Ernest Jones 5199 who said let's go my brother, you're amazing, and shouts out to Narrow Fury who also said glad I woke up semi on time to run it. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below in this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're talking about is none other than Courtney Williams, and this one is for 13.5 points, and this one actually is for less. Now looking at Courtney Williams, we've actually seen her go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. Now this one's an interesting one. We see on May 22nd faced off against Dallas, where she actually had 13 points there. Then May 24th faced off against Connecticut, where she had 0 points there. May 28th faced off against Seattle, where she had 23 points. Then May 31st faced off against Phoenix, where she had 11 points. Then June 2nd faced off against Golden State, where she actually had 22 points. So we have seen her go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. And looking at those last 5 games, we also do see that her average over the last 5 is 13.8. So slightly above this line, but nothing really too convincing to us there. Now looking at Courtney Williams, she obviously does play for Minnesota Lynx. She is a fantastic player for that team. And when it comes to Minnesota Lynx, they do have themselves a great matchup against Phoenix Mercury. So it is definitely going to be an exciting game, no doubt about it. But looking at both of these teams, we have seen Minnesota Lynx be on an absolute tear because they have a 7-0 record, 7 wins, 0 losses, which is absolutely insane. And on top of that, to add some extra pudding, they also have, the 2nd spot in the actual, WNBA. Now they are tied with the 1st. I think the reason why they are ranked 2nd is due to the fact that, it may be a points for and against sort of system. But looking at where they are right now, they do pretty much technically tie 1st, but they are currently ranked 2nd. And then they face off against Phoenix Mercury, where Mercury are in a pretty good position as well. They do rank 4th in the WNBA, have a 5-2 record, so 5 wins, 2 losses, and on top of that also have a 71.4% win percentage. So they have done a fantastic job so far, during the regular season. And obviously it is still very early on, but looking at Phoenix Mercury, we do see that Phoenix Mercury do rank 2nd when it comes to points allowed. So they rank very well, and that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. On top of that, when you also look at Courtney Williams, she definitely hasn't really been putting on, on a consistent basis, a good amount of points. We have seen her do a bit less in the usage rate of points as of recent. The Dallas game, the Connecticut game, also the Phoenix game, all very low. And on top of that, when you look at some of her games where she has scored well, it is against kind of easier teams when it comes to allowing a lot of points. So she's definitely had a bit of an easy route in those matchups, but we have seen Courtney Williams definitely struggle against tougher defensive teams, and that's what we are expecting in this matchup against Phoenix Mercury. Now looking at Phoenix Mercury, we definitely do see that, obviously, not only is their defense very, very good, but they also do a pretty good job at also slowing down, the pace of the game. Minnesota Lynx do like to play, fast pace. Phoenix Mercury are a little bit slower, and we are expecting, Minnesota Lynx to actually come back down to Phoenix Mercury's pace. Now, obviously, I'm not expecting a super, super slow game, but definitely just enough to even edge a bit more on Courtney Williams being able to go on the under in this one. So, for that reason, we are sticking to the under. When you look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have a favorite for the under as well. So, Courtney Williams, 13.5 points for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're going to be talking about none other than Maddie Siegrist. Now, when it comes to Maddie Siegrist, we've actually seen her do a fantastic job. Now, this one is 4.5 rebounds, however, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Maddie, we have seen her do a fantastic job throughout the regular season, but she has gone on the under still in 3 out of the last 5 games when it comes to rebounds. Now, looking at those stats, we see May 22nd faced off against Minnesota, had 3 rebounds there. May 25th faced off against Atlanta, where she had 9 rebounds. Then May 28th faced off against Connecticut, where she had 3 rebounds. Then May 30th against Chicago, had 3 rebounds. Then June 1st against Chicago, had 8 rebounds there. Now, when we look at someone like Maddie, we have definitely do see this being a very interesting matchup. But before we get into that, looking at 3 out of the last 5, her average over the last 5 is also 5.2, so slightly above this line. However, like I mentioned with the last pick, not really too convincing to us there. Now, Dallas do face off against Seattle in this matchup, so it is definitely going to be an exciting game between both of these teams. Now, Dallas Wings have had a really, really tough start to the season. Now, they have been doing pretty well in those games. However, they haven't been able to close it out because they currently rank 12th in the WNBA. And just to give you, I guess reference, there are only 13 teams in the WNBA, so they are doing very, very bad. But they do have a 1-6 record, 1 win, 6 losses, 14.3% win percentage, so it hasn't really been looking too good for them. And when we look at Maddie as well, what we also do see in this matchup is also that they face off against Seattle Storm, and Seattle Storm are doing a little bit better as they do rank 6th in the WNBA and also have a 3-4 record. So 3 wins, 4 losses, 42.9% win percentage, so great job there. And on top of that, we also have seen, they are actually on a 3-game losing streak, however, and the Dallas Wings, obviously, since they are only having 1 win, they're also on a 2-game losing streak, okay? So, both of these teams aren't really in the greatest form as of lately. However, looking at Seattle, we do see that Seattle, when it comes to rebounds, we do see that Seattle Storm do rank 4th, when it comes to rebounds allowed. And we definitely see that being enough, seeing someone like, Maddie be able to go on the under there. Now, someone, like Maddie Siegrist is also, although she is a forward, she doesn't really have that high of a usage rate in the rebounding department. It's very much, I would say, accidental in a sense that some of the games she has big rebounding games, other games not really too well, and that's what we definitely have seen over the last 5. And we are expecting, a similar matchup because Seattle are a great rebounding team, so we are expecting Maddie to struggle in this case. So, for that reason, we do very much like the under for this one. Now, looking at Maddie as well, she is coming off a game where she did have 8 rebounds. Yes, she had a big rebounding game. And like I mentioned before, you're definitely going to have those games with players where they definitely beat the odds. But we think it's brought this line a little bit too high, that now there's a lot more value actually to go on the under. Now, because of that, we are definitely sticking to the under for this one. All the value for us is definitely in the under for Maddie. So Maddie Siegrist for 4.5 rebounds for less, I think is a great pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're actually going to be talking about none other than Arike Ogunbowale. Now, Arike, as we all know, a great player. Now, we have definitely, kept a radar on her because she has had a decent start to the season when it comes stat-wise. But this one is Arike for 18.5 points, and this one actually is for less. Now, when we look at Arike, we have seen her go on the under in 2 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at this matchup, we see on May 22nd, faced off against Minnesota. She had 21 points there. Then May 25th, faced off against Atlanta. Now, in that matchup, she actually had 5 points. Then May 28th, faced off against Connecticut, where she had 19 points. May 30th against Chicago, had 37. And then June 1st against Chicago, had 15 points. So we have seen Arike actually go on the under on multiple occasions, 2 out of the 5 games. And her average over the last 5 is also 19.4. So her average over the last 5 is slightly above this one, but we look at the matchup and we just, pretty much just talked about this matchup, Dallas versus Seattle Storm. Just to remind you again or reiterate again, the Dallas do rank 12th, record of 1-6, and Seattle have a record of 3-4 and are ranked 6. So they are ranked a little bit better, but like I mentioned before, both teams are currently on a losing streak. So, it's definitely bad or poor form for both of these teams. Now, looking at, Seattle, we did look at the rebounds last time, but looking at actually points allowed, we do see that Seattle Storm still do rank very well as a rank 4th. Now, Seattle are a great defensive team. We definitely have seen them do a fantastic job time and time again, and we are just expecting a similar situation where we do like the under for someone like Arike, especially coming into this game. Now, when we look at someone like Arike, what we also do see is that when it comes to, her actual usage rate out there in the points department, yes, it is very high. But what we have noticed is that Seattle do a great job, not only just at restricting points, but they tend to really hone in and focus in on the stars and restrict them as much as they can. Now, obviously, Arike isn't the only kind of, I would say, superstar or main player in this team. She's definitely playing alongside some other great players. But as we have seen, Arike has definitely been a big asset to this team, and we are expecting Seattle to put a lot of pressure and a lot of defensive pressure on her to try to stop them as soon as possible. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation, and that's a big reason why we do like the under for this one. Now, when we look at Arike, also, we are expecting, not only just the defensive pressure to be on her, but also we could see Seattle try to slow down the pace of this game as much as they can. As less pace means less volume and less opportunity for Arike. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for Arike. When you look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have a favorite for the under as well. So it works out in our favor there. So Arike Ogunbowale, 18.5 points for less, I think is a great pick. So as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but PrizePicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player we're going to be talking about is none other than Aliyah Boston. So as you all know, Aliyah Boston is a great player for none other than Indiana Fever. Now, she has done a fantastic job so far this season because she's actually averaged 16.8 points, 9.2 rebounds, 3.5 assists, while also shooting averaging 0.5 steals. So she has done a fantastic job for none other than Indiana Fever, and we have seen her do a great job all season, or so far during the season, as Indiana, during the actual rankings of the WNBA, they do currently rank 8th. Now, they do have a record of 2-4, so 2 wins and 4 losses. They do have a 33.3% win percentage, so a little bit of an average start to Indiana Fever. But as you all know, guys, it is obviously very early on in the season. They have only played 6 games, so anything can still really happen. Now, when it comes to Indiana Fever, they do find themselves in a very good matchup against the Washington Mystics. Now, when it comes to the Washington Mystics, they are very close in ranking because they actually rank 7th in the WNBA with a 3-4 record. So 3 wins, 4 losses, 42.9% win percentage. So when it comes to this matchup, we are seeing 2 teams that are, I would say, evenly matched based off their rankings. So it's definitely going to be a close game or a tight game between both of these teams. Now, looking at someone like Aliyah and Indiana Fever and the matchup against Mystics, we do see that Mystics do rank 5th when it comes to points allowed. They also rank 2nd when it comes to assists allowed, and then 6th when it comes to rebounds allowed. Now, when it comes to someone like, Aliyah Boston, although she is a fantastic player, we do actually see her going on the under in this situation here. Now, a big reason being is that Washington Mystics do a pretty decent job at restricting points, rebounds, and assists. So that's definitely a big factor there. But the fact that Aliyah Boston does play that forward position, and Mystics have done time and time again a great job at actually restricting points, rebounds, and assists to the actual forward position, is definitely another telltale sign to us there. Now, when it comes to Aliyah Boston, yes, she's had some big games, but I think overall her usage rate has definitely fluctuated over, the first couple of games during the regular season. They are, as Indiana Fever, are still trying to work out where everyone is in a sense of, what usage rate, who does who the best, really figuring out strategies. And I know it is still very early on in the season, but, I think Aliyah Boston's kind of usage rate out there has been definitely a little bit unpredictable at times, and that's definitely a factor that we have taken into consideration, and another reason why we do like the under for this. Now, looking at her last 5 games, we have seen her face off against Atlanta Dream, where they lost 91-90. She had 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists in that matchup, so she did fantastic there. And the next game against Atlanta Dream, only played 23 minutes in this one, but they actually won 81-76. And they found, that she actually got less usage rate out there, only having 4 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. After that, faced off against New York Liberty, who Liberty have done a great job so far during the season. They actually lost 90-88, but she had 27 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 assists in that matchup. Then faced off against Washington Mystics, where she actually had 10 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists there. So we actually saw her go on the under compared to her averages in that matchup where they did play earlier. And also, they did lose 83-77 in that matchup. Then faced off against Connecticut Sun, where she had 17 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists there. So, like I mentioned before, when it comes to Aliyah Boston, it's definitely been a little bit up in the air when it comes to her usage rate. Some games she plays a lot of minutes and gets a lot of usage rate out there, and other times she may, barely get any sort of stats or may focus on 1 or 2 categories. So, it's still very up in the air for that. Now, obviously, take into account the most recent game against Washington Mystics is definitely a good sign for us there. So she pretty much did go on the under in all 3 categories in their matchup against Washington. She did go on the over, however, in assists by just 0.5. So just slightly above it, but not really anything convincing enough to us there. So that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. We definitely see Aliyah, struggling in this matchup. Washington are going to bring out the best defense possible, and that's one of the reasons why Mystics do rank pretty well in all 3 categories, and we definitely see that affecting Aliyah Boston greatly. So for that reason, keep an eye out for Aliyah Boston. We do very much like the under for this one. So like I always mentioned, guys, keep an eye out for the line. If the line is too close to her averages, then definitely look to go on the under. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Alanna Smith. So Alanna Smith, great player for none other than the Minnesota Lynx, and she's done a fantastic job during the regular season because she's actually averaged 11.3 points, 3.8 rebounds, 2 assists, while also getting 1.2 steals. So she has done a fantastic job during the regular season. We have also seen her do a really good job, when it comes to her efficiency out there on the floor. And on top of that, Minnesota Lynx find themselves in a really good position because they currently have a 7-0 record. So they are undefeated. Now, technically, they still do rank second because of the whole points for and against, but they do have the same record as the number 1 team. So I definitely do believe, both of these teams definitely deserve to be at the top when it comes to Minnesota Lynx and who they are tied with. And because of that, Minnesota Lynx have themselves a really good matchup because they face off against Phoenix. Now, when we look at Phoenix Mercury, they aren't really too far behind. Now, they do rank 4th, but they have a record of 5-2. So, 5 wins, 2 losses. Obviously, Lynx are still undefeated, but, Mercury still have a very good record. And that's definitely something, to keep an eye out for and respect from Phoenix Mercury here. Now, looking at Alanna Smith and also the matchup against Phoenix, we do see that Phoenix do rank 2nd when it comes to points allowed. When it comes to assists allowed, they do rank 7th, and then rebounds allowed, we also do see that, Mercury ranked a little bit lower as they ranked 9th. Now, when it comes to someone like Alanna Smith, we do see, like I mentioned, Phoenix ranking very high in points, and that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation for Alanna Smith, but strictly just for the points category. And a big reason being is that not only do Phoenix do a great job at restricting points, but they also do a great job at restricting points to the forward position. And we definitely see that having a huge effect in this game. Now, looking at someone like Alanna Smith, she is a great player, do not get me wrong, and she's definitely had some big scoring nights. However, in this matchup, especially, with Phoenix already playing them before, we are expecting, when it comes to this matchup, that there could definitely be some adjustments to be made when it comes to, the strategies that Phoenix and defensive strategies at that they're going to run on Alanna Smith and the rest of the Minnesota team. Now, looking at the most recent games, we see on the actual Thursday of the 22nd, we saw them face off against Dallas. Now, they won 85-81. She had 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists in that matchup. Then faced off against Connecticut, where she actually had 2 points, 0 rebounds, and 2 assists there. And she actually, only had 15 minutes of playtime, but they still won 76-70. Then faced off against Seattle Storm, where she had an 82-77 victory against them with 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. And then faced off actually against Phoenix Mercury, who they're now facing off against again. And she had 19 points, 4 rebounds, and 0 assists there. And then faced off against Golden State Valkyrie, where she had, 0 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists with an 86-75 result. Now, obviously, they have faced off against Phoenix Mercury before, and we actually did see her go on the over on her line compared to her average. However, we are seeing that more of an outlier game. Alanna Smith got hot in a hurry, and she was able to take advantage of it, and it was just one of those games where, she had the hot hand, and they kept feeding it to her. But we should still see her come back down to reality. She's had, that outlier game and also one other against Seattle. It's now, I'm expecting that the line is going to come out very, very inflated, that there's a lot more value now to go on the under. Like I mentioned, Alanna Smith, I wouldn't say is the main player for this Minnesota Lynx team. And although they have done a great job so far, this season, Alanna Smith tends to continue to play that supporting role at most of the time. So, coming into this next one, although she did have a great game against Phoenix in their first matchup, we should see her come back down to reality. And we are also expecting Phoenix to make some adjustments, as Phoenix, can definitely get this win and probably end the undefeated streak for Minnesota. So it's definitely going to be an exciting game, but I think defense is going to be important. And Mercury is going to try their best, to really get their defense going and restrict Alanna Smith as much as they can. But like I mentioned, we are focusing a lot more on points rather than rebounds and assists. So keep an eye out for the points line. Like I always mentioned, if the line is too close to our averages, then definitely look to go on the other. Now, getting to the next one, we're going to be talking about Ezi Magbegor. Now, as you all know, Ezi, great player for none other than Seattle Storm. And she's done a fantastic job during the regular season because she's actually averaged 6.9 points, 8.1 rebounds, 2.4 assists, while also getting 0.3 steals. So she has done a fantastic job for this Seattle Storm team, and the Seattle Storm team are in a pretty good position in a sense that Seattle Storm do actually rank 6th when it comes to the WNBA. So nothing really crazy, but they still do find themselves in that, sort of mid category, which still gives them a potential to be able, to make it higher. Like I always mention, when it comes to this season, it is still very, very early. So anything can really happen in that sense. Now, when it comes to this, we do see Seattle Storm have a 3-4 record. So 3 wins, 4 losses, 42.9% win percentage. And they also find themselves against none other than Dallas Wings. Now, Dallas Wings have been doing pretty decently so far, but they still do find themselves in a losing situation because they actually currently rank 12th in the WNBA with 1 win and 6 losses. So they have a 14.3% win percentage. Now, a big problem with them is they do have some close games against teams, but Wings just haven't really been able to close it out. And that's a big reason, that this is super interesting to see both of these teams face off against each other. Hopefully we see both of these teams play well, but obviously Dallas are trying to get more wins on the board, and same with Seattle. Now looking at Seattle Storm and the matchup against Dallas and looking more closely at Dallas's defense, we do see Dallas ranking 11th when it comes to points allowed. They also rank 13th when it comes to assists allowed, and then 11th when it comes to rebounds allowed. And that's definitely a big problem for them, and this is one of the reasons why we are expecting Ezi Magbegor to be able to go on the over in this situation here. Now looking at someone like Ezi, we definitely have seen her do a great job throughout the regular season, but what we also have seen is that, you know, Ezi has a really good usage rate in the points and rebounding department. Now when it actually comes to, you know, the assist, it is a little bit lower, but we still see that there is maybe a capability to see her go on the over. A big reason for this is that sometimes if the usage rate is a little bit lower, you may not actually see a line come out for it. So we are expecting a line to come out for points and rebounds. Assist is a potential, but I think she has a capability to definitely go on the over in all three, in either three for sure. Now, looking at someone, you know, like Ezi Magbegor, we also do see that her last 5 games, we have seen her put on some pretty big performances, others not so much, but we see they faced off against Phoenix on the 24th, a 77-70 win, and she actually had a 6 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists there. After that, they faced off against Las Vegas Aces with a 102-82 win. So he started off the season strong. Now she had 12 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists in that matchup. Then faced off against Minnesota Lynx, where in an 82-77 loss had 6 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 assists. After that, faced off against Atlanta Dream, where she actually had 8 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 assists with a 94-87 loss. And then a recent loss against Aces, 75-70, where she had 7 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists. So it definitely does show, you know, rebounds is definitely where a lot of her usage rate is at. But with a team like Dallas Wings, who do a very poor job at actually, you know, defending pretty much all 3 categories, we should see someone like Ezi be able to take advantage of this and go on the over there. So for that reason, keep an eye out for Ezi Magbegor's line. I think, like I mentioned, points and rebounds is definitely where you want to focus on. Now if there is a line out that does come out for the actual assist, I definitely still see value there, but I think points and rebounds is definitely where you want to focus on coming into this matchup. So for that reason, keep an eye out for the over for someone like Ezi Magbegor, and keep an eye out for the points and rebounds. If the line is under averages, then definitely look to go on the over. Now getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about Jade Melbourne. So Jade Melbourne, great player from none other than the Washington Mystics, and she's actually done a fantastic job, you know, all season. But we do see a very good matchup, because we actually see she's averaged 8.7 points, 3.1 rebounds, 2.7 assists, while also getting 0.7 steals. So she has done a fantastic job there. Now when we look at someone like, you know, Jade Melbourne and the Washington Mystics, we see them face off against Indiana Fever. Now just to reiterate, or just to remind you again, we do see that Mystics have had, you know, a bit of an interesting start to the season. They find themselves at a 3-4 record. So 3 wins, 4 losses. And they are versing a team that is just 1, you know, spot behind them, as Indiana Fever do actually rank 8th with a 2-win, 4-loss record with a 33.3% win percentage. So coming into this one, we are expecting a very interesting game, and a close game at that. But obviously Jade Melbourne, great player. And looking at Indiana Fever defensively, we do see that Indy do actually rank 7th when it comes to points allowed. They also rank 3rd when it comes to assists allowed, and then rebounds allowed. We also see them rank 9th. So a little bit of an interesting one there. We see them rank a little bit higher in assists, but points and rebounds, they do rank a little bit lower. Now when it comes to someone like a Jade, we do actually still like the under for this situation here. But if there was one to focus on, I think assist is definitely where you want to focus on, and also points. Now, a big reason being for that is that when it comes to Jade Melbourne, obviously points, rebounds, and assists, she does have a decent usage rate, but she isn't really the main player for this Washington Mystics team. But what we have seen is that Indiana Fever, we do see that they rank high in assists, but Indiana Fever, although they only rank 7th in points, Indy actually rank very, very well at restricting points to the guard position. So when we look at a per position basis, we do actually see that, Jade Melbourne, someone of her caliber, Indy, are definitely going to bring a lot of defensive attention to that, and it could definitely see her go on the under there. So this one's an interesting one. If there was ones to focus on, I think, like I mentioned, points and assists is definitely where you need to focus on, as Indy actually do a great job at restricting both of those departments. Points, they do restrict that per position, so on a guard basis, and then assists, they do a great job restricting that overall, but they also do a great job restricting that to the guard position as well. So it may be a little bit more complicated in that sense, but I think both definitely have the capability. Now, looking at the last 5 games, we definitely have seen her put up some pretty decent numbers at times, and other times not too well. We saw they face off against Golden State, 76-74 loss, and she had actually 8 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists there. So was able to do a fantastic job. Then faced off against the Las Vegas Aces, where she had 14 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist. Then faced off against Phoenix with 29 minutes, 68-62 loss. She had 6 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist. After that, she faced off against Indiana, where she actually had 3 points, 1 rebound, and 5 assists with an 83-77 win. And then faced off against New York Liberty with an 85-63 victory, where she had 4 points, 1 rebound, and 0 assists. So, like I mentioned, we do like the under for points and assists, and obviously they have played Indy before, and it was one of those games that they actually did win. And Jade actually did go under on her points line, but she did go on the over in her assist line. But like I mentioned, guys and girls, there's always times where, certain players, they do better than what is expected. And those are just, sort of outlier games that I like to call them, because those do happen once in a while. But coming back into reality, we should see for this one, we could definitely see someone like Jade go on the under due to the fact that, like I mentioned, Indy do a great job restricting points and assists to the guard position. So for that reason, I definitely would keep an eye out for that. And when it comes to someone like Jade Melbourne, we aren't expecting her to have that high of a usage rate for this game, especially, as her role in the Washington Mystics isn't really the star player or anything of that nature. So for that reason, keep an eye out for the under for Jade Melbourne. But like I mentioned, definitely keep an eye out for points and assists.